listen to this. The European Union's Home Affairs chief wants to read your private messages. Oh my god, I feel so safe right now. Yesterday I was in grave danger because the government wasn't trying to read my correspondence. But today, knowing that they are planning to, it's like a huge weight being alleviated off my shoulders. You know what's interesting? Romania actually has a law which punishes people with imprisonment for violating the secret of correspondence. In other words, what it means is that if I get to read a mail that is destined for my wife, and she presses charges, I can go to prison. I'm not kidding, that's an actual law in my country. It's also to electronic correspondence, so if I were to log into my wife's email account and start reading her correspondence without her consent, I can go to prison. And of course, it's only punishable if the person presses charges, right? So like, for example, if my wife reads my mail and I don't press any charges, then nothing happens. But if I go to the cops and I say, well, she violated the secret of my correspondence, then she can go to prison. So it's interesting, like, you can go to jail if you do this, but if the government does it, it's fine. I'm really curious, like, how are they going to package this? Is it to protect the children, or is it to fight terrorism? Like, what do you think? Huh? What do you think? Because they come wrapped up in these nice Christmas packages, these draconic legislations. So, a new law is threatening the privacy of the European Union. 447 million inhabitants. But it's for their own safety. I mean, how can you be safe if the government doesn't look in your email? Huh? The CSA regulation proposed by the European Commission could undermine the trust that we have in a secure and confidential process like sending work emails, communicating with our doctors, and even governments protecting intelligence. The regulation wants to routinely scan our private communications online using AI tools to look for the spread of, the children. Here we go. It's the children. All right? So it's not terrorism, it's the children. I bet if it was around 2016, you know, when you had the Nisa, it would have been terrorism. But now it's the children. It does not matter if you are suspected of a crime or not, because up until now, like, that's how it works. If you actually do something, right, if there's suspicion, then a judge would give the police a court order so that they can investigate your activities. And that's normal. But no, like, what they want is, like, everyone can be targeted with this. So, apparently, the EU Home Affairs law does not propose to scan the words that we type. It also wants to scan the personal pictures on our phones, the documents on our clouds, and the contents of our emails. All the way that we live our lives online, including a lot of deeply personal information, could be subjugated to regular digital searches. I suggest that they also search how people vote. You know, like in the voting booth. Like, what if someone snuck in some CP in the voting booth, huh? You should have a camera over there. And while you're checking for that, may as well check how the person votes. Apparently, mass surveillance online does not make us safer, says it. Erodes our democratic rights and freedoms. So what do you need freedom for? Do you not want the children to stay safe? Why do you need any type of privacy? Do you not trust the government? When did the government want what's bad for you? No, the government wants what's good for you, which is why you need to make sure that it doesn't take the goodness away. Research confirms that AI systems perpetuate discrimination. Yeah, in other words, they're based. All right? Like, this is how the AI works. It sees patterns. So you feed it a mountain of library, and the AI then regurgitates based on the patterns it has read, but unfortunately, sometimes those patterns are politically incorrect. So they perpetuate discrimination. We see men of color flagged as suspicious when they're not doing anything wrong. Women and girls' bodies and LGBTQ people are over-censored. Yeah, because usually the rhetoric that I see from certain activists on Twitter is a little bit exaggerated, right? Because they're not used to getting censored like the conservatives. Like, conservatives get censored all the fucking time, so then they start to police their speech, then they start to water down the content. Meanwhile, you have far-left people, like, flat-out advocating for violence. There was a lady on The View recently advocating for leftists to take up arms against the Christians. And we know what happened yesterday, right? But, like, that lady isn't going to get her account banned. She's not going to get censored. So because of that, she's going to keep up with the rhetoric, right? So when an AI comes and an AI doesn't know what the fuck she is or what her politics are, like, flag. right? So people don't lie. Like, how dare you flag her? Like, she's a journalist. The same thing that happened when Elon Musk started banning journalists for doxing, right? Like, journalists dox all the fucking time, but nothing happens to them. Like, the rules didn't apply to them, so they kept doxing. And then when Elon Musk goes like, all right, well, the rules apply to everyone now, they're freaking out about it. So anyway, how can we trust this inherently false technology? I love the arguments that they're making, right? It's not that the problem is that this shouldn't be done. No one should read your private correspondence if you've done nothing wrong. You know, like, it's kind of like an illegal search. Like, you're being searched. It's like having the cops go into your house, right? Even if you didn't do anything wrong, without a court order, without a warrant, without anything. It's like, well, we're looking for CP or whatever. And you're like, but I haven't done anything. Did you have a warrant? No. Like, we're going to search anyway, right? It's kind of like that, but it's all the online space. Like, they just want to see your privacy, and they want to go through your computer and your phone where you keep all of your information. So their logic isn't that, well, this is really fucked up and wrong. Like, this is what we would expect from a dictatorship, from a communist state, from Nazi Germany. Surely not from the bastion of human rights, which is the European Union. But no. They're like, well, the problem is that the AI would be discriminating people, right? Like, gay people would be searched more than the straights. Like, that's literally their argument. And I think it's a flawed argument. That's not the argument that I want. Like, in a just world, this shouldn't be done, period. I don't care who gets more affected. No one should be affected by this. So despite the name that suggests AI aren't even particularly intelligent, under the new proposal, these biases, unreliable AI tools would predict whose messages, picture, or uploads contains child abuse. Based on what we know, and by the way, like, another thing, if you were to make the internet sanitized, like anyone that goes online, you know, like, they say something and they can get arrested or whatever, the actual criminals, the people that do operate trafficking rings, you know, like the actual bad people, will stop using the fucking internet. You know, they would use the postal service. They would use it online. Like, people adapt. Criminals adapt. But the thing that won't change is that law-abiding citizens would still have their computer searched. Like, it would still look to see what's on your computer. And the idea that this is only to protect children is ridiculous. Like, it starts like that. You know, that's how they get the foot in the door. But then it's like, oh, let's look for extremism. And then the next question is like, what is extremism? I don't know, someone who makes an okay sign, someone who posted the flyers, it's okay to be white, or whatever the fuck. You know, like, that, they're going to just water down shit until it gets to target the people who are against the ones in power. Like, for example, you have lockdowns, you know, enforced lockdowns. Anyone who complains about the lockdowns is an extremist. Like, you can see how easy it is to just decide which gets into the category that's problematic. But it is what it is. So, guilty until proven otherwise. According to the draft law, if you choose to use online apps or platforms that respect your privacy and personal data, it is more likely that your private communication will be routinely scanned. Why would you want to protect your personal messages? If you don't have anything to hide, is the line that the EU Home Affairs Unit is pushing for. Yeah, I mean, such an American logic, isn't it? Like, didn't George Bush have this? Like, if you got nothing to hide, the only people that have something to hide is the government. When you start looking into the government, oh, then we know what happened to Mr. Snowden, right? Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section.